So I'm good friends with Brady, right?
Yeah.
Well, Brady, every time I listen to Hello Internet, you've heard of that?
Yeah, it comes up from time to time. It seems like they have really committed moms.
That's right, they do. Yeah, they call themselves something. I forget what that is. Anyway, so every time he talks to Gray about sports, or as he would say, sport, I feel like there's this floodgate that is being kept shut, and he wants to continue to just go crazy and talk about it.
Because Gray cares nothing for sport. It doesn't happen.
Exactly. But with your permission, I know you used to play like ball a lot. I used to play ball. I really want to just let him go. I want to have Brady on and just let him talk about sports. Are you cool with that?
Well, especially because he's into sports we're not into.
Yeah.
You know what I want to learn about? It's cricket. Because I went to London and went for a lovely stroll in the park with my wife, and there was a cricket match going on. And I watched them
think it's called a tussle.
do things in white outfits. I don't know whether to believe you. I'm that ignorant.
I think it's called a cricket tussle.
It can't possibly be called a tussle. That does sound infinitely British. You know?
No, I just made that up.
No, we'll just have him explain it to us.
So you cool with me having him on?
Yeah, of course.
Well, here's the good thing. He's actually in America right now, so we can call him and it's cheap.
I've played a lot of sport through my life, yeah, until recent years when my body has decided no. And my work schedule has also decided likewise.
We actually had Wellness Day at work not long ago, and it's a tradition that every year at Wellness Day, I injure myself, and it takes weeks to recover, which is very ironic. But this year it was a back tweak. I tweaked my back. It was bad.
What were you playing at Wellness Day?
First base. They put me in first base, and it wasn't like hitting or running or anything like that. All that worked out just well. But it was walking into the dugout after the inning was over that I just felt something snap or something. I don't know what the heck happened, but I had to go up to my buddy and was like, hey, man, I have to get a sub. I can't finish first base, which is like the easiest position to play, right?
That's sort of shameful.
It is.
Can I just say how disappointed I am by the name Wellness Day? I think Wellness Day is a really uncool name because I saw on Snapchat some of what was going on, Destin, and it looked like a pretty cool day. You're playing sports and doing all sorts of stuff. I think calling it Wellness Day just makes it sound like a day that you like nibble on a few carrots and do some yoga. I think you need a gritty name.
It was really a pretty cool day. My favorite competition, which I did not participate in, was the weightlifting competition, which was the first year they've done it. But to be honest, they're kind of dialing back the intensity because we used to have like all kinds of really awesome stuff. But basketball, like 3-on-3 basketball, and just really hardcore. Now they went to kickball, and they even have a dessert making competition, which is like the opposite of Wellness Day. I'm like, what the heck?
Were you playing first base and you got injured in kickball?
No, dude. This was softball, which is better than baseball. Brady, do you know what the difference in softball and baseball is?
Yes.
What's the difference from your perspective?
Oh, you're testing me to see if I'm lying. For me, the main difference.
Exactly
for
what
me,
I'm doing.
the main difference for me is in softball, the pitch is delivered underhand, and I'm also aware a larger ball is used.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But that changes the game tremendously.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
of course. Yeah.
It becomes a defensive game at that point. And then when you're hitting, you can... Well, I don't know if you know this. Matt, actually... What did you play, Matt?
I played all the way through college, and then I played a little ball after college, but nothing I got paid for.
Was it like in Mexico or something?
I played in a Mexican league in Nebraska.
What?
Yeah. So a whole bunch of people there worked at the meatpacking plants all around Nebraska and Kansas. And there was this little regional league. And I thought, I'm a college baseball player. I'm going to go in here and dominate and get some huge cred and finally make my wife impressed with how good I am at baseball. Except they were all freaking awesome at baseball. These guys were smart, clever ball players, and every one of them, everybody could hit. I thought I would dazzle people, just put a little spin on the ball. Like, hey, here's a slider. Welcome to the big leagues, son. Everybody could hit it. It's crazy.
You were also on a wrong turn thinking that your wife would be impressed, because I got my wife once to come along and watch me play cricket. And I thought I was a pretty good cricketer. And she came along with a friend, and they sat there in like their deck chairs on the boundary line. And amazingly, I put in one of my all-time great cricket performances. And I won't bore you with like the technical details of what I did, but I did some pretty cool stuff. And then I came off the field afterwards thinking I was going to get like a, wow, you're awesome. I never knew. And I sort of looked at her with a twinkle in my eye, and she said, oh, hey, you're back. And I said, yeah, so what'd you think? And she goes, oh, sorry, I wasn't watching. What happened? But you know what? Even if she was watching, she wouldn't have known I was doing something good.
My wife is wonderful, like wonderful. I hit the lottery here, but I have had that exact experience so many times where I feel like I've done the coolest thing in sports. Like that's the best I've ever made that play. Did you see it? It was art. It was beauty. The only person I want to be impressed is my wife, but she's always just like, I'm already impressed with you. I love you. You're great. And so it's hard to get mad.
That's also horse crap, and we all know it.
She's playing you like a cheap guitar with that line.
So Brady, you said you did amazing things in cricket. So like in baseball, I can, there are specific plays I've made at certain times in my life that I can replay, and I'm like, yeah, that was awesome. And I remember the exact, wherever the base runners were and everything. But in cricket, to me, all cricket is you have a guy, the pitcher in cricket's called the bowler, right?
Bowler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to knock down the wicket, and then the batter is trying to protect the wicket, right?
Yes, this is a fair summary.
Okay. I'm not offending you, am I?
No. I mean, cricket is a remarkably complicated game, and there's a lot more going on than just that. But yeah, but they are true statements.
Okay, no, let's keep going. We can do better than that. Before you ask this question, like there are, so the dude with the bat, he's trying to put it in play, but there aren't bases in cricket, right? It's just back and forth.
Yeah, you run up and down to the other end of the pitch.
I feel like
I'm pretty pumped.
We are boring you with
I feel
your
like
own.
we're dominating. What are you talking about?
I mean, describing cricket to someone who doesn't understand cricket is something that I've spent so much time thinking about in the shower, and like has so much nuance to it, and like I have like, all this stuff that I think about, that to then just do it without preparation on the fly would not do it justice. But that is an accurate
Is it like making a YouTube video about the moon for you?
It is a bit like that. I have thought about making like videos or podcasts and things about cricket, and I will do it. But it's just like, yeah, it's like an opus, and I don't want to like do it on the fly and do it all ham-fisted. But I will happily answer all and any questions about cricket because I love talking about it. It is without doubt my favorite sport.
Well, this is my question. So set all that stuff aside. My question is, what did you do that day? And like, I don't want just the back of the envelope, how you would explain it to an American. What did you do that you knew would impress the wife and it just didn't work?
All right. I will explain it exactly for cricket fans who listen to your podcast, but I will also translate it a little bit into baseball terms, if I may.
Yes.
I'm a wicketkeeper, which is like being a catcher in baseball, the person who stands behind the batter and catches and takes the balls that are either missed or let go by the batter. So that's my main stock and trade. And I did that for many, many years. But towards the end of my cricketing career, as I started dropping down to lower and lower leagues because I was less capable, suddenly my ability as a bowler or a pitcher was recognised by the team. There was one game when I was sort of wicket keeping or catching, and we were sort of desperate for some better bowling, and I sort of said, "Do you want me to have a try? Like, I can do it." And they said, "All right." So I took all my equipment off and my gloves off and all my padding that the wicketkeeper wears, and I came on to be a bowler, and I performed remarkably, like instantly. So it was sort of like the equivalent. It was like the equivalent of I'd been catching and having a good game, and then I became the pitcher and pitched 9 consecutive strikeouts. I sort of bowled very well. So this was a big discovery that the wicketkeeper for all these years was able to be a pitcher. So in this particular game that my wife was at, I was wicketkeeping, and I was told, "Brady, can you come out and be the bowler?" And I came on to bowl, And in the space of an over, which is 6 deliveries or 6 pitches, I took 2 wickets and a catch. And it was sort of, oh, wow, that was a game-changing moment. And I thought I was like, king of the world in this like D-grade cricket game in the middle of England. And so then I strutted off thinking my wife would have seen what I'd just done and demolished the other team. And she saw nothing. She was just chatting about stuff with her friend.
But this is like top 10 cricket games you've ever played.
Oh, gosh. Oh, don't start me. It was good. It was only like a flash in the pan. It was just a few moments. And like I said, it was like some, low league, rural England thing. It wasn't like, a test match at the MCG. But the point I was making was my wife's not interested in cricket. Not that I had once had a good game of cricket.
You got credit from your teammates, right? Like that earned you something.
Yeah. Let me ask you two something, because you both have played some baseball, and I'm very interested in baseball, and I could ask a million questions about that. And Destin, you said you'd been involved in some good plays, and obviously, Matt, you've been involved with lots of plays over the years playing so much baseball. Have either of you ever participated in or been part of a triple play?
Yes.
Wow. I sometimes go on YouTube and just watch compilations of MLB triple plays.
I do too.
I'm fascinated by them.
Have you seen Troy Tulowitzki's Unassisted from his rookie year as a Colorado Rocky?
I think it
was the only one in like 100 years.
There are a few unassisted triple plays I've seen on YouTube. Not a lot.
There have been a couple since.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it was a stolen base attempt on a line drive up the middle. Shortstop went to cover. The line drive comes right at him. He fields the line drive cleanly. That's an out. As he's standing on second, that's an out. And then he kind of confusedly tags the runner, and everybody takes a minute, and they're like,
yeah,
I think that's an unassisted triple play. Sweet!
The one thing about triple plays that you'd notice is, I mean, especially an unassisted one, but just in general, most of the time people don't quite realize it's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's kind of sitting there dazed.
Was that the case in the ones that you guys participated in?
Mine have all been flukes. Did you play baseball growing up, Brady?
Do you know what? I've never hit a baseball with a baseball bat.
What?
Oh my goodness, we need to remedy that.
I know.
And not in a batting cage.
It bothers me. It does bother me a bit that I've not like ever played baseball, because I've only got into it in adulthood, and cricket was my sport and football or soccer was my other sport. So they're the sports I played, but I've watched so much baseball that I've never even gone out for, a hit out in a park or anything.
Oh, dude, this is bad. We've got to fix this, man.
I know.
And that's so easily addressed. And if you've never been tainted one way or the other, start with a wood bat. You'll never know the difference, and the wood bat will feel awesome.
I've got a lovely wooden bat at home in my office because I bought one because I wanted just to have a lovely one to hold. So I've got a beautiful, posh Derek Jeter bat sitting in my office, but I've just never hit a ball with it. And I've got baseballs in my office too.
Oh man, dude, if I'd have known that when I was there, we totally would have done that.
Well, my worry is I'm going to be disappointed how bad I am at it because I know that I'm going to do it like cricket, and not obviously with a straight bat like cricket, but the one thing I think I don't understand about baseball is that you actually do hit the ball lower to the ground than what I think. Like if you play a cross bat horizontal to the ground shot in cricket, you're normally hitting a ball that's around sort of chest to shoulder height. So that's where I when I swing a baseball bat for fun, I'm always swinging it up there, but I know I need to be swinging it more around like my knees.
Well, it just depends on where the pitch is.
I think that's because of how the ball, yeah, exactly, where the ball is coming in at. You want to, it's simple statistics, right? Like if you were to see the ball coming in on a certain slope, your best chance of hitting it is if you can match the slope of the ball with the slope of your bat. That's your best chance of hitting it.
Right. Yeah.
Cleanly.
Yeah. And then, if you can line those planes up, then it's just going to be a matter of timing. So you hit it to left field or right field. And so that's why you see kids that are trying to go, you've seen snaps of my son that I send you. I like to send you private snaps of the baseball games, by the way. And so do you like those, by the way, or does that annoy you?
I love baseball. I love all baseball. I watch loads of baseball. In fact, the Yankees, who are my team, don't say anything.
No, I don't have any opinion.
Are currently in the 9th inning of their deciding game in their series. So you've just reminded me that I need to check if it's finished and if they won or not.
Are you watching it?
That's a huge sacrifice.
No, it's not that huge.
Because I'm almost positive you're on the phone with us right now.
I am. The Yankees are 3-2 up going into the 9th in the deciding game.
Who's their closer?
Is the game on? Like you can watch it right now as we're going? You can totally do that.
No, I can't watch it on the TV I've got here. Hasn't got the channel with the baseball on it. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal.
Okay.
All right. No worries.
I'm here.
No worries.
I'm here for you guys. This is a much bigger deal.
Well, it's appreciated.
All right.
The thing about like slope and the angle of hitting a ball though is what you're describing really works with softball, Destin. But there are a lot of power hitters in baseball who will intentionally try to strike the ball at more of a collision angle. I don't know if I'm using the right language, because that initiates spin. And if you're trying to drive a ball, that can cause a ball to carry a little bit, whereas pushing the ball on flat contact won't cause a ball to carry. So there's a lot more technique that goes into really popping a ball than you would figure.
That is finesse when you're imparting spin on the ball with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a little. I promise I did not think about this before we got on here, but I have a little bit more information about that than I've ever told you about. A buddy of mine, his name is John Michael. He has a company here in Alabama called House of Hammer, and this is in no way like endorsing I don't know, whatever. I'm just going to talk about it. So one thing we did is I offered high-speed video analysis of baseball and softball swings. And one thing I did is I quantified the exit speed of the ball off the bat. So a person would come in and they would hit, and then he would, spend a week working with him or whatever, and then we would redo it. And we could, say, oh, well, you have increased your exit speed off the bat by 25% by using this certain technique. Does that make sense?
They do that in the TV telecast now. They have like a stat that straight away comes up showing the speed off the bat and stuff.
I did not know that. Really?
It is quite a new thing, actually, but I've noticed it just this year. They have it when you're watching the broadcast, like it just will pop up straight away. Oh, that was 138 miles off the bat, and it came in at, 97.
Which is blazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you see a ball coming at you at 70 miles an hour, it's hot. It's one of those things where, the numbers always get artificially exaggerated as people talk.
Yeah.
In baseball, every kid in high school, I throw, 80. Are you kidding me? Have you ever seen 80, kid? 80 is blazing. You have no time to make that decision.
You have to also learn to see things moving that fast. A friend of mine who was quite a good cricketer, like amateur cricketer, unpaid, he was a journalist as well, and he got to go into like the equivalent of a batting cage. They call them the nets in cricket. And he got to face this really fast bowler from the Australian cricket team for a story. What is it like to face Merv Hughes? And it was like an experience thing, and they padded him all up with all these helmets and pads. And Merv Hughes, this famous old fast bowler from Australia, bowled 6 deliveries at my friend, who was a good cricketer, good batsman. Like, I really respected him as a cricketer. And he came out afterwards and said, I did not even see a single one of them. Yes. I didn't even see it. Yes. 3 of them hit his wicket, like bowled him. 2 of them just like passed by him without him seeing, and another one I think hit him on the body. And he said, I just couldn't even see the ball. He came running in. I saw him move his arm, and that was the last thing I saw until the ball had gone past me.
What happens if you get hit in cricket?
You get hurt. It's not like baseball. There's no penalty against the bowler. In fact, the bowler quite relishes a chance to hit the batsman. It's considered sort of part of the intimidation part of the game.
Really?
Does that ever cause fights? Do you ever charge the mound?
No, it doesn't start fights.
Because you all wear fancy white outfits and it's a gentleman's sport?
Yeah.
Because it does seem to me like cricket is a nice sport.
Yeah. There is a saying like that crosses culture and comes out of cricket to say something just, that's not cricket. If you do something that's considered poor behaviour or unethical in England or Australia, you'll say, you can't do that. That's not cricket. That's not like a respectable way to act.
The baseball term for the corollary is baseball etiquette.
Yes.
So if you're up by 8 runs and there's 1 out in the 9th, and you have your guy steal second, the next guy's probably going to get a fastball in the ribs. Baseball etiquette.
That surprises me, actually.
Did you pitch, Matt?
Did I? Yeah, absolutely. I pitched.
Did you hit people on purpose?
I threw inside on a guy once on purpose. My coach told me to hit him. I'd never hit anybody, and I felt like that wasn't right. I don't know if I actually believe that now. And I threw inside on a guy to make the coach happy, not trying to hit the dude, and I hit the dude anyway.
Well,
that's the only time I've done it.
That's his fault. He was crowding the plate.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, right.
It didn't have anything to do with the fact that the same dude in a game before in the doubleheader hit a home run and stood at home plate and admired it for 10 seconds. It might have had something to do with that. It wasn't 10 seconds, but it was too long. 1 second is too long in baseball. You don't get to watch your home run. You go run.
My favorite piece of baseball etiquette that I find completely baffling but really interesting is this whole thing where you can't run across the mound during the change of innings. If you run across the pitcher's mound as you're going back to your dugout, it will cause a riot. It's so disrespectful.
I didn't know that.
The thing about it is, if you pitch, your stride digs this hole against the rubber. That's the thing that you put your foot against. I realize that could sound strange to an unfamiliar audience. And your stride creates a divot in the mound as well. And so you're always doing maintenance so that you feel good about your feet and you know where the plant, you're going to plant your foot. If somebody comes through there and scuffs it up, that's an aggression. And so in general, you just, out of respect, you just avoid the mound. Yeah, he's right, Destin.
Oh, Destin, trust me, I know my baseball, mate. I know my baseball. I'm a subscriber to MLB TV. I haven't watched much this season, but the previous seasons, I probably watched 30, 40 games a season.
So why the Yankees, Brady?
Do you know, it's probably the same reason that everyone goes for these mega teams, like everyone supports Manchester United in England, and that is you kind of, when you're not that into the sport and far away from it, as I was in England when I started getting into baseball, they kind of get shown a lot on TV, so you see them more often, and so you get to know the players and their names and stuff, so you imprint with them. So I imprinted with the Yankees from afar before, but I knew they were a big famous team, but I didn't know how everyone hated the Yankees and Yankees fans until later, and by that point it was too late. I'd imprinted. They were my team that I liked, and once you imprint with a team, it's very hard to scrub that out of your brain.
All right, so I have a legit question that we can solve right now. We can do this.
Right.
So my son loves baseball, and I really enjoy going to his games and playing with him in the yard and all that stuff. But it's time, and he knows it. It's time for him to pick his team, like his Major League Baseball team. He's starting to memorize trivia and stuff like that. And as the dad, I feel like I have tremendous sway over this decision because. I went to a Dodgers game in LA and I realized, man, I can get him a hat and take it home right now. But if I do that, the Dodgers might end up being his team, But what do you do?
What do you want to be his team, Destin? You want it? What team do you want him to support?
I want him to support the team he wants to support.
Oh, that's so neat.
I mean,
but
it'll come
it's
on.
not neat.
Don't do that.
Total
Why not?
That's what you do with religion, not with baseball teams. You choose the correct team and you force it on your child. This is not hard.
Got it. Yeah. So this is a far more important decision than
you ask
than
my
religion.
children what they think of the Oakland Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs, or New England Patriots, and they'll know the correct answer.
Oh,
Will
man.
they swear?
It's the only time they're allowed.
You're not gonna let me.
They're not allowed to wish the people get hurt, but they are allowed to wish that empty stadiums get hit with a meteor, and it's just too expensive to put the franchise back together, and they just have to cancel it.
What were you going to say, Brady?
First of all, I'm going to say I disagree overall, and I think that you have to let your son find his team organically. It can't be foisted upon him. I think it just has to happen. And usually if you let these things happen naturally, they happen the way you want anyway. But I think you should let it go. And just to further upset Matt, the Patriots is my football team.
What?
Wow, it's a really creative choice. Let's just Google who wins all the time. Let me see.
And
that's who I like.
Let me tell you why they're my team. Because
All
when
right,
I first went to Boston many years ago, I walked into a sports store, and my name is very uncommon, especially as a first name, and I never saw my name anywhere. I walked into a store and I saw all these shirts with Brady written on them, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, look at that!" And I bought one straight away. I didn't know who he was. He was this new quarterback they'd just signed, and I don't think they'd even won a Super Bowl at that point. But I bought this Brady shirt because it had Brady written on it. And so I said, that's it. That's my team. And basically, about 6 months later, I think they won that for their first Super Bowl with Tom Brady. And then obviously the dynasty started. But I was on board with the Patriots.
That's legit.
Before
that's legit.
they started
I
winning.
retract everything I said. That's legit. I actually became a Broncos fan the same way 2 years ago. My middle name is actually Matt. My first name is Osweiler. And I saw a shirt that said Osweiler on it. And I was like, what in the world? And I started liking the Broncos. And then they won the Super Bowl.
Fair enough.
Well played.
Fair enough.
Well played.
I mean,
Here is my deal with the New England Patriots, Brady.
Yep.
I really don't like all of their winning. And I really don't like how much they're the team that my team is always looking up at. But I just can't help but like that dirty Tom Brady. He's just so clean and decent and a good sport. And he's friendly with other quarterbacks and he conducts himself well. And stupid Tom Brady.
I tell you what, man, how good was last year's Super Bowl?
It was disgusting and awesome.
It was incredible. And last year's World Series. Like, what a treat last year was for American sport.
I'm sitting here, I feel kind of bad because I can't reciprocate because I don't have a clue what happened in the UK or Australia last year. Like what happened in Australian rules football last year? Because I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
No,
First, let's start with name a team in Australian rules football.
This is, guys, I don't think you realize what sensitive territory you've wandered into here, because just 2 weeks ago, my team, the Adelaide Crows, made it to the first AFL football grand final for many years. And it was a big moment for us. It's like the Super Bowl of Australian rules football. And I stayed up until the wee hours to watch it, and we lost the game. So we blew it on the big stage. But and
it's a single elimination like football. So
yeah, it's like that. Yeah, it's like a big one-off end of season game. But while we're talking about end of season games, and to bring it back to America, there are two things about American sports, in particular the playoffs and who wins, that bother me. Or I don't understand. The culture hasn't grabbed me. And I want to deal with both of them because they were the two dumb questions that I have for you guys.
If you bring up the national championship game last year where Alabama got beat, then I'm probably out. Just so you know, I'm probably shutting.
Destin, roll tide, man. You know I'm Bama for life. I'm not going to do
roll
that.
Roll tide, brother.
All right. But I have two issues with American sports, particularly this time of year. The first is, I am not comfortable with the term postseason. Because to me, this is the most important part of the year. This is like the business end. This is what really matters. This is where the season is decided, where everything is the most important. And I feel like calling it postseason makes it just sound like afterwards, like all the important stuff's done with now. Because you know how preseason means this isn't important. This is before the season. I think postseason has the same feeling. This isn't important either. The season's finished now. So preseason, not important. Postseason, not important. All that should matter is the season. And yet, postseason is the most important part of the year and the sport. Not comfortable with
I think you're just inflating the value of the word season. I mean, it's like hunting season. Everybody knows that that's just a suggested time to hunt, right?
But you don't want to hunt during hunting postseason. That's a felony.
I'm just kidding. No, I've never even thought about this, man.
Well, there you go.
What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting we call it like, we have some epic battle type word?
No, I'm quite comfortable with the term playoffs because that seems to imbue it with the importance that it has. And I know that's an alternative name for it. So I'm quite comfortable saying, it's the playoffs. This is awesome. But calling it the postseason, like I've learned to be excited by the term postseason because, I know what it is and I know how important it is. but I think it's not the right term, and it doesn't sit right with me, and I feel like an outsider wouldn't get it either. It's just something that irks me. Just putting it out there.
I think the whole postseason thing is particularly garbage in college football, because here, if you lose a game most seasons in late August, you can't win the national championship. It's over. Every now and then, a one-loss team will sneak into the playoffs, win the championship, but the season is just overly inflated. There's not a chance to battle back. And I really like the way baseball works, where you get to pull it together. You get to gel as a team over the course of the season. And then in the playoffs, it doesn't matter if you were awful in May. If you recovered and you made the playoffs, you still got a crack at it, even if you inch into the playoffs.
Guys, don't you even start me on the jiggery pokery mates club ridiculous way that you decide which college teams get to go into the postseason. That is the most ridiculous
you mean the
thing in
highly
sports.
complex computer algorithm?
Oh, it's such a joke.
Oh,
look, here's who should be in the postseason.
Yep.
Begrudgingly, Alabama, because they're obviously better than everybody by the eye test. And if they go undefeated and beat everybody by 30 points, they get to go. After that, it's a joke.
Well, I mean, I think even the Alabama thing's a statement, a false statement. I think no team has a right to be there. I think each year it has to be earned. I know there's the problem that there's so many teams and they can't all play each other and that. But this idea that deciding who goes into the postseason is not decided purely by the season is like kind of, well, I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Let me throw this in the mix. So one problem with this is that because, as you rightly point out, a loss is pretty much suicide for your season, that encourages teams to build the schedule, up against wimpy teams. And so right now, as an Alabama fan, games aren't that fun to go to because, we feel like we're
winning
playing
by 60 is boring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that sounds weird, but it is kind of true. Like if you have the option of staying at home and watching it on TV with, instant replay and all that good stuff, or going and watching your whole team trounce another team, handily and I went to the Vanderbilt game because I go to maybe 1, maybe 2 games a year. No joke. By the end of the first quarter, half of the student section of the Vanderbilt, the Vanderbilt side was empty. They just left. They were done. And we were putting in our third string and we're like, who's that guy? I don't know. Put him in, It was just weird. And so I think there's a better way to do it. Are you familiar with the term design of experiments, Brady, from Numberphile? Have you ever done a video on that?
Don't think so.
It's basically when you have too many variables to solve for, like you have 5 equations and 7 unknowns. So what you would do is you just, instead of trying to normalize it and like eliminate variables one at a time, you just throw everything in a hat and pull them out randomly and then test them all and then put them in this multi-dimensional matrix and you figure out what works and what doesn't and what the determining factor is. Anyway, it's an engineering process and it works really, really well. It's called design of experiments. You could just have a grab bag every year and have random teams play other random teams, not political at all, and then you could easily figure out which ones are the strongest and then have a playoff system.
Yeah.
But what doesn't work right now is that like the conference where I live is the Mountain West Conference. Who's the best team in the Mountain West Conference, Destin?
Are you talking about college?
Yeah.
The Wyoming Cowboys? No,
Incorrect.
I guess Boise.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Boise?
Yes, Boise State usually. Colorado State's good from time to time. That's where I grew up. I like them. But if you play in the Mountain West, you're playing demonstrably worse competition than if you play in the SEC, Southeast Conference. And so a win over Wyoming, it just doesn't prove nearly as much as a win over LSU, And so it's really hard.
You never have a chance to prove it.
It's not apples to apples. Yeah.
Do you want to hear my other gripe about American sport?
I want to hear your other gripe. I'm enjoying these.
Because once we deal with this, we can move on to some Australian sport, because I'm sure all the listeners don't just want to hear 3 ill-informed guys talk about American sports. I'm sure we're driving them crazy. I'm sure they'd much rather hear you ask me questions about my alien sports from Australia. But let me
I'm
deal with
excited to flip it.
let me deal with my one other thing that I'm not comfortable with. And I know this is part of the culture, but I don't think it's cool. And that is when you win a championship, the awarding and wearing of rings. I think rings are a silly medal or reward or thing to have for having won like a major championship.
Okay, I have super deep insight into this, actually.
All right.
I know I just came out of right field there, but here's the deal. I met a guy, okay, let me back up. Back when the earth was cool, my Little League baseball coach on the Rangers, was the name of our team back then, was a guy named Tim Baker. He was the captain of the Auburn national championship team from the 50s. And, that was just something people said, and I didn't really understand the significance of it. But that was the only national championship that Auburn had ever won, up until that point. And I didn't get it. Well, recently, I was doing this thing at a lawyer's office, and this guy was there, and he's wearing a ring. And I'm like, that's a national championship ring from Auburn. There's only one of those that a guy that's like 80 years old would be wearing. Sir, were you on the team with Tim Baker? He said, yes, sir, I was. Tim and I are the only ones that are still around. Long story short, he had a national championship ring, Brady, that was perfectly legit. It was simple. You had to be looking to see it. It wasn't a massive thing. It looked like a class ring you would get from school. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. That I'm a little bit more comfortable with that because they do get they're too blingy and silly now. Even like a ring at all, I think is a silly award for winning a sports contest. It just seems wrong to me. But I have a little bit more time for something that's a little bit understated. And I can see how there's this, subtle recognition and this sort of camaraderie of all the people who have the ring. And it's something you can wear in day-to-day life rather than wearing a great big medal around your neck or lugging a trophy around. So I see how there's a utility to it. But to me, I don't know. It's because I'm not American. But I just think it's like a little bit of a silly prize, a ring. I associate rings with getting married, and that's about it probably.
I think the camaraderie thing is the ticket, though. I mean, it does hail back to the era of everybody buying a letter jacket, not just in high school, but even in college I'm a part of this team. I'm a part of this club. I was listening to Alfred Williams. He's a guy who played for the Denver Broncos back in the 90s when they won a championship, 2 championships. He had 2 rings, and he was going to a special event to honor the Broncos that just won a championship with Peyton Manning and all of that crowd. And of course, you got to wear your rings to this private banquet that's just for champion Denver Broncos of now and of yesteryear. And he couldn't find them on his way out the door. And he described himself as having a panic attack that he was about to go to this exclusive club with his friends, and he didn't have the ring. And so he called up his buddy Rod Smith and asked to borrow one of Rod Smith's rings, and he let him. And psychologically, this guy is a very mature, sensible man, was expressing anguish and not being able to have the ring on when he was hanging out with his guys.
Why wasn't Rod Smith himself going to this event, though, if he was also part of the winning club?
Rod Smith did go to the event, but he just wore one of his 2 rings, and Alfred wore the other.
I'm with you. There you go.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd get 2 of those on one hand anyway. They're huge.
One thing this guy said is he's like, yeah, the kids these days and the rings they get, he said they're tacky and gaudy, and he goes, he's like, this one right here, you could sneak this around. Did you get the video I sent you?
But I've seen it. You've already sent it to me. I've watched it before.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Just quietly, though, looking at that ring that the old fella got, I wouldn't describe that as understated. I still think it's a little bit gaudy. I mean, it's got words on it. It's got words on it. It's got a big eagle on it. Like, it's not, I wouldn't call it understated.
There's like 120 teams in Division I football, and they won a championship. I think it's okay to be a little gaudy.
Okay. But let's call a spade a spade. Let's not call that understated.
Well, what do you do when you win okay, so we have the Stanley Cup. We have the Crystal Football and National Matt, I don't know if you know that. I mean, you don't pull for Alabama.
No.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have any idea, but I've seen other teams near it.
Just joking.
I've seen photographs.
So what do you, like, when you win, this will be fun. Matt, let's guess what you win if you win the national championship in cricket. This would be fun.
In cricket?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go, like with golf, you get a fancy jacket. I'm going to go with a fancy hat. Everyone gets a fancy hat.
Okay, don't say if that's right or not yet, because I want to get my guess in before that's eliminated. I'm going to go with a handsome designer saddle for riding in the countryside.
Saddle.
Wait, no, matching monocles. Matching monocles.
Oh, well, you can't have two monocles at once. Then they're just glasses. But sure.
It's actually a golden mug of tea.
Oh,
is it real?
No,
it's
not.
Be that.
Well, cricket national championships aren't that big a deal, but it's just medals. You just get a medal.
Oh,
like you just wear it around your neck?
I mean,
does it just have like a?
I mean, the trophy that I would expect you guys to make the biggest mockery of in cricket, though, of course, is the trophy that Australia and England contest in cricket every 2 or 3 years. You know what this is.
What is the thing? It's so memorable.
It is.
I don't know. You got to give it to me. What is the thing?
It's a tiny, tiny urn with some ashes in them.
Of who?
And it's not of a person. It's.
I think they're the ashes of Roger Australia, founder of Australia.
Yeah, Roger
Daryl
Australia.
And Connie Australia.
Surely it would be Bruce Australia.
Bruce. What is it?
That's a great point.
Like who died and they burned and they put him and they give him away? Who's that?
It wasn't a person. It's not exactly known. There's a little bit of folklore about it, and it's not exactly known what happened. But what happened was the first ever match that was played between Australia and England, a newspaper article was written because Australia won it, and it was considered a great disgrace to England. And someone wrote this article saying that the something like the memory of English cricket will be burned and the ashes will be sent back to England. So there was this thing about the ashes of English cricket, and the legend is what they actually burned was a bale, which is a little wooden stick that sits on top of the wicket. They burnt a bale from that match and put it in this urn, and that became the trophy. There's a little bit of, is that really what happened about the story? But the trophy still exists, and it's really old now, and it's really tiny.
Is it sacred?
It's very sacred. It's so sacred.
Like what would happen if somebody to celebrate having won the thing? What if like a couple of the cricket gentlemen like shook that out on a table and just snorted a couple lines of it? Would that be a disgrace? Or would that be like something everybody could pretty much laugh at?
That wouldn't be cricket. But what actually?
Oh, well played.
But what happens now actually is it's so sacred. They've actually made a replica of this crappy little trophy, so that the good one, like the original one, stays permanently in a museum in England, and the one that they hold at the end and have their photo taken with isn't even the real one. The cricketers aren't even allowed to touch the real one. That's how special it is. So they have a replica of this beat up tiny little urn. And actually, I read an article about 6 months ago where they were trying to figure out where the urn came from, because it looked like it was like an off the shelf container of some sort. It's not even an urn made to hold ashes. It was like just some off the shelf container from 200 years ago that was used to store something in ye olde times, and they can't even figure out what the container is and where it came from. It was just something someone owned and slapped a little sign on and said this is a trophy. You must read about it. The Ashes trophy. It's a very interesting Wikipedia article.
On my car, on my dash, believe it or not, I know you hate things on the dash. I went out to my car one day and there was a goat trophy. It was a small goat trophy. And the little thing on the front said largest dog. It was an actual trophy in the shape of a goat, and it said largest dog. We had no idea what this meant and where it came from. It's like it came from outer space. And so we in the office took that to mean, this is a stupid thing. So the person that says the stupidest thing in the office gets the largest dog. And so that's what we do in the office. If somebody says something completely idiotic, it has to be dumber than the previous thing that got the trophy. You get the largest dog award, and you can't get rid of it until somebody else says something stupid. So
it incentivizes rooting against each other.
Yep.
This episode of No Dumb Questions is sponsored by Away. Away makes really cool luggage, and Matt, you got your list of things that we need to say in front of you?
Oh yeah, it's right there. But a lot of it I just know because I actually like the bag and use it.
That's true, but let's say the things we're supposed to say real quick, and then let's just get to talking about it. So, for example, you get $20 off if you go to awaytravel.com and use the promo code NDQ. That's for No Dumb Questions. Your turn. You get to say your thing now.
Well, and when you go to awaytravel.com and do that, you might select from any of the 9 colors or 4 sizes of bags that you could pick from, all of which come with the 360-degree wheel spinners, which I legitimately love because I travel alone a lot and I get bored and sad.
Do you spin it around by the handle?
I do. I spin it in front of me faster than I walk, and then I walk and I catch up with it, like all sleek and stylish.
Do you do
that? I imagine I'm in Ocean's 11.
I wonder if that's a common thing with because I do that too. Oh, I have one more thing that I'm supposed to say, and then we can start talking about it. So you get a 100-day free trial. You can get it and check it out for 100 days, and if you don't like it, you can just return it for a full refund, no questions asked. Okay, now you're ready to actually talk about it?
Yeah, I'm ready to actually talk about it now.
Okay, so I have the blue one, and I had the letters SED for Smarter Every Day on it, and you have the one I brought.
I have the black one
Yeah.
that you used for a while and has the evidence that you hurled it down several square people pipes.
I do. I rammed them into the wall.
This thing rolls like a champ, still does what it's supposed to do. I love it.
What do you think about the battery, the built-in battery?
I honestly thought at this point in history I would never use it because I figured I'd be prepared, but I thought, it can take a charge. I'm going to put it on there just in case. First time I used the bag, the day got weird, got away from me, no juice on my phone, and I actually charged my phone off of it for the whole trip. So it's there. I like it.
It's awesome. I have charged a Switch off of it and my phone, and I've charged other people's phones. I've been like, hey, you good?
Oh.
Yeah, dude, it's a conversation starter. You just
I have not thought of the social advantages of being charger guy.
I know you want some Zap? Here's some Zap. It's awesome, man. Anyway, that's it. It's a really good bag. If you would like to support the show, then support our sponsors by going to awaytravel.com, use the promo code NDQ, get $20 off of your first bag. I think it's worth it. I really like it.
Did I see a snap of you with an away bag and a Nicholas Sparks book in it?
No.
What was that?
That was some lady's bag in front of me, and she had her Nicholas Sparks book hanging out. And it wasn't a snap. I tweeted it from @NoDumbQuestions and pretended like it was you going on a trip, which it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. And I got some negative feedback on that one, which was hurtful. And also, I think we terrified our entire audience into thinking that the next book review was going to be The Notebook.
The Notebook.
I'm not ruling it out.
That's pretty good. Anyway, so to support us, go to awaytravel.com/NDQ and use the promo code NDQ to get $20 off your luggage. I recommend the carry-on in navy blue, but there's tons of options. Find what you want, and that'd be a big help to No Dumb Questions. Anyway, back to the show.
Do you want an embarrassing story from my childhood that I haven't told before?
I think that's why we're here.
All right. Let's get to business. As a youngster, I was obsessed with cricket statistics. And what would happen was I used to play backyard cricket like all Australian kids. You get a tennis ball and a bat, and you go and play cricket in the backyard. And we would play.
I love where this is going.
We would play games of backyard cricket. You know where this is going?
Yep. And I am so pumped to hear it because we're about to bond. Proceed.
If you know where this is going, you are amazing because I don't think I've ever told this story before. But we used to play backyard cricket. I was obsessed with statistics. So while my friends just wanted to play cricket and whack the tennis ball, you play with a tennis ball when you're kids so that you don't hurt yourself or you don't smash the windows.
How you play backyard home run derby baseball. Yeah.
All right. This is good. So we used to play backyard cricket, but unlike most kids who would just play and argue over who got to bat and who got to bowl and stuff, I was obsessed with keeping statistics of everything that happened in our backyard cricket games. So I would record how many runs everyone scored, how many wickets everyone got. So every time something happened, like every time a wicket fell, I would go and get these exercise books that I literally used to keep on a barbecue. I would get the exercise books and I would fill in who got out, how they got out, how many runs they got, who took the wicket and stuff. And then every couple of weeks, I would release these statistical reports so we could all look at what our stats were and who was averaging what and who got the most wickets and how many catches everyone took.
How many kids?
And no one cared but you.
No one cared but me. Even they didn't care. And
of course not.
So there was just four of us playing, but I would keep all our stats and stuff like that, and I was obsessed with it, and I was so into it. And then one day we decided we were going to have like a big day of like a big test match competition day, and we wanted to make this serious because kids just we just thought it was going to be a big deal, and we decided we needed to have some trophy or prize, or I probably decided this myself. And what I did was I got a page from the statistics book, which I considered really, really sacred. And I burned it into ashes, and then I put the ashes into a jam jar and put a lovely piece of cloth over the top of the jam jar held in place with a rubber band, and that was our backyard ashes trophy.
Yes.
Oh, that is wonderful.
What did you call it?
The ashes, the backyard ashes.
Of course.
It was the ashes.
I love that half a planet away, your brain decided to do the same crap I decided, but with our domestic sport. I did. The reason I started laughing is because I knew exactly where you were going. I also love statistics.
Yeah.
And there was a churchyard next to our house that just had exactly the right kind of coverage of trees and everything. And we played home run derby back there, me and my friend Aaron, every day after school until it got dark. And I started keeping stats.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough for us to just play home run derby. We each had to create a fictitious lineup with 9 different characters who all had different batting stances, one of which had to hit left-handed.
All right.
And then I would keep independent statistics for each of those batters and then publish them and give them to Aaron, who did not care at all.
Dude.
And my cleanup hitter on my team, I named God. And I thought, well, that's a good idea, because I'll tell you who's probably really consistent at hitting home runs would be someone who's not bound by time or space or limited by knowledge or distance. That would be God.
Yeah.
But it was really conflicting because if I ever got out, I mean, it's a churchyard. You don't want to be sacrilegious. I'd be like, no, there had been a substitution. That was, and so I'd always go back and change the record so that, I mean, it worked out for me. And
so it was God. So you made sure God was batting 1,000.
Always 1,000. Like, that guy was on fire, man. He was unstoppable. And as master of time and space, it's not weird for him to go back and sub in someone else if he flies out to left.
I'll tell you, question. All right, you've inspired two more. You've inspired 2 more stories from me. One I will save for a minute when I try to one up you with nerdy stats. But first, I have to tell you a semi-sacrilegious joke, but it's playful enough that I think we can get away with it. And I'm sure this joke gets adapted everywhere in the world. So you've probably heard this joke before for yours, but I'll tell it the Australian way.
Bring it.
There was a football team, and at the time I heard the joke, there was a football team in Australia called Norwood, and they had this really good player called Michael Ashe, right? And he was supposedly really good, and he wore, I can't remember what he wore. I say he wore number 8. I'm just guessing. So anyway, the joke goes that there's this Norwood football supporter who loves his football team all his life, and then eventually one day he dies and he goes to heaven, and like St. Peter's walking him around heaven, showing him what heaven's like. Here's the toilets, and here's where you stay, and beautiful place, of course, lovely. And then over in the corner, this Norwood supporter sees a football match being played, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe it! A football match! Can we go and have a look?" And like St. Peter's like, "Of course we can. Let's go and watch the game." It's just like a kickabout game that's been improvised. And there's this one guy playing in the forward pocket, which is a football position. And he's unbelievable. He's wearing a Norwood shirt. He's wearing the Norwood outfit, and he's got a big number 8 on his back. You can see him from a distance. And he's taking amazing marks, and he's like running rings around all the opponents, and he's kicking goals from impossible angles. He can't do a thing wrong. And this Norwood supporter, like, he's tearing up. He can't believe what's happening. And he just sort of turns to St. Peter and goes, Is that who I think it is? Is that Michael Ashe? And St. Peter says, "Nah, that's God. He just likes to pretend he's Michael Ashe."
That's pretty good, Brady.
I'm always so nervous when someone tells a joke. So I'm like, oh, this sucks. I hope my fake laugh is good enough. Thank you for your joke actually being funny. It made my life better.
Okay, so I have a question. I want to get back to one other thing you said, Brady. If I'm not mistaken, you just made fun of American football for the trophy being too gaudy in the form of a ring, but you hand out literal medals to people that win cricket.
Oh Almost all
how is a
sports give
medal?
medals to people who win. It happens to almost every sport in the world. You win the World Cup of football or soccer, they get all the winning team get given medals along with the big trophy.
Do they?
Medals for sport is like the normal thing to get. You do realize this, don't you?
You know, at Wellness Day, you know what cornhole is?
Yeah.
There's this. Yeah, just.
I
don't
just
even
immature giggled. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I'm fine.
There's a plywood board with a hole in it, and you throw a bag of corn, and it's a sport called cornhole. Traditionally,
Yeah, and some
in the
people
South.
call it bags. Some people call it bags so that you don't have to try to say cornhole with a straight face.
I played
you
this
don't
with
wanna have to
Destin
say
at the
that.
Bama game. Destin and I played this at the Alabama game, and Destin was very good at getting the corn in the hole.
I was, but I was just remembering.
I think he'd done it before.
One thing I was remembering is at Wellness Day, my buddy Brad, you know, he represented the missile range or whatever, and he won at cornhole, and they gave him a medal that said cornhole. He was wearing it. I was like, Brad, what does that medal say? He's like, I won. I was like, awesome, man. Roll Tide. He'd roll Tide.
Can I?
Okay,
There's just some stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
You just don't wear it.
I started sweating telling this
Joke's on
story.
you. You got me. So if you ask people in Canada or the United States what the most world famous, important, meaningful, special trophy is, they would all say the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling like maybe the most legendary trophy is the Ashes.
No.
The Ashes.
I'm super embarrassed I didn't have that.
The
But
World
that's
Cup.
what they
The
call-
World Cup of soccer is pretty famous too.
What is it?
But that's more about the tournament than about the trophy.
But
Well,
it's
the
a
trophy
different,
has an
it's a
interesting-
different cup every year.
No, the World Cup trophy has an amazing story though, because for many
The cup
years,
trophy travels?
yeah, for many years, it was a trophy. It was called the Jules Rimet Trophy, and it was won by the team that won the World Cup, and you got to have it for 4 years, and then you had to hand it back after 4 years, and the next team got it. And famously, when England hosted the World Cup in 1966, the trophy got stolen from like a display because it was being shown around the country on this traveling roadshow with pretty rubbish security, and someone took it. And like it was a worldwide story because the World Cup trophy had been lost, and it ended up being found dumped in a park by the person who stole it, who obviously panicked, and it got found by a dog called Pickles. And Pickles the dog became so famous in England that even now, if you say to someone in England, what was the name of the dog that found the World Cup trophy in 1966, they'll say Pickles. But anyway.
No way.
But what happened was, after Brazil won the World Cup in 1970, they were the first team that had won it 3 times. So as like a special award for winning it 3 times, they got to keep the Jules Rimet trophy forever. And instead, they had cast a new trophy, which is the trophy you see today, which is that interesting one with the world globe on top and stuff. It's a very iconic trophy. And the Jules Rimet trophy stayed in Brazil forever until it got stolen in Brazil. But this time, it didn't get found by a dog. It got melted down by the robbers for the gold and was never heard from again.
Wow.
Dude. Why did they get to keep it? That's dumb.
I don't know. I think maybe they decided they wanted a better trophy because the Jules Rimet trophy was very unimpressive. So I think they decided they wanted to have a new trophy anyway. So because also
Goes
that
the
19
Ashes, but it's
and
cool.
that 1970 final was quite a big deal because it was Brazil versus Italy, and whichever team won that match would become the first team to win it 3 times. So maybe it was considered a game of some import. It was a very famous game. So
Well, that's not happening with the Stanley Cup.
I actually saw the Stanley Cup one time.
Where at?
Well, what's the name of the, Brady, you'll know this. In LA, there's this planetarium up there on the hill. What's that called?
No, I don't know.
Or the observatory? Oh, God, I feel so dumb right now. In Los
It's
Angeles.
in movies, but I can't picture it. I mean, I can't come up with the
not
name.
Kit Peak or what's the no?
Oh, man, I feel dumb. It overlooks Los Angeles and is this famous planetarium. Anyway, we're up there because my cousin lived out there and he just wanted to show me the grounds, which were beautiful. And this dude just shows up with the Stanley Cup and all his friends, and they're just taking pictures over LA. I was like, what? I had no idea that they get to keep the Stanley Cup for a day. Like each player gets it, right?
Yes, that's the cool thing about it. Griffith Observatory.
That's it.
Griffith Observatory.
Yeah,
That's the coolest thing is you get to do whatever you want with that trophy for a day, short of wreck it. And people
I didn't know that.
like one dude like his wife had a baby in it.
What?
Yeah, like
what?
they put their baby in there or something.
They put the baby in it. She didn't give
crazy
birth
stuff with
to a
it.
baby in it.
Well, I don't know. I might need to Google that. I've heard some crazy stuff.
I would totally
That's
eat
interesting.
Cheerios.
I didn't know that. I know every player has their name engraved on it, which in itself I think is quite amazing. But I didn't know they all got to keep it for a day.
Yeah, and it was so weird because he was just like walking around with it. It was like a guy that got out of his car and his buddies got out of their car, and they just had the Stanley Cup.
Is there a security guy who stays with it as well, just to make sure whoever has it for the day doesn't do anything stupid? Like, has it got like a custody person? Or?
I have no.
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, hearing these stories about the World Cup. I mean, maybe just you're just talking about soccer hooligans, where the hockey players are super dignified and honorable. Maybe that was the thing.
There was a story.
Dude baptized his baby in the Stanley Cup. That's what it was.
That's tacky, man.
You earned it. You earned it. You earned it.
Another famous trophy in world sport is the Champions League trophy, the European Cup, and that was won by Barcelona a couple of years ago, and they were having an open top bus tour through the streets celebrating, and all the thousands of people in the crowd were screaming at them, and they each had a turn holding the cup and holding it above their heads and getting the crowd all excited. And one of the guys, when it was his turn to hold the trophy, dropped it off the front of the bus, and the bus didn't stop in time, and the bus actually ran over the trophy.
Oh, it's like that. It's like that little gif of the guy with the mantis on the skateboard.
I haven't seen that, but that's like the mantis where he runs over the skate. Yeah, that's good. That's like
I had another story. I've got another story for you guys. I got another because I feel a bit intimidated by Matt now because I feel like he's vying with me for sport nerdiness.
Okay,
so I'm gonna tell you another one about me, and if you can't top this, and you will then have to admit
I'm already prepping my counter.
All right. And funnily enough, I'm actually scooping myself here because I was going to be telling the story for the first time on the next episode of the Unmade Podcast, which is the other podcast I do.
Scooping was like a gesture.
We're going to real quick before you do that, Brady. Let's talk about the Unmade Podcast. That's the podcast where you talk about podcasts you're going to make, right?
Well, or not make. We don't know yet. We talk about just ideas for a podcast, and then we just talk for a while and joke around. So
I've listened to the first couple of episodes. It's great. You should make one about sports trophies and just like follow the sports trophies around. You could not make one about that.
Well, the last episode 4 of the Unmade Podcast, actually is about has a very sporty idea, but that's not what I want to talk about. But in the next episode coming out, I tell the story, but you're getting it first. So anyone who listens to both is going to say, "Oh, I already knew that. I heard that with Destin and Matt." But when I was another game that I used to play when I was young was this game that I didn't invent, but I modified and improved. And it's called card cricket. And what I would do is I would make a 13 by 13 grid, and then I would populate that entire grid with all the different things that could happen in a ball of cricket. So nothing could happen. You could just bat the ball away with nothing happened. You could smack the ball out of the park, which gets you 6 runs. A wicket could happen. And I kind of made the probability across this grid sort of accurate to real cricket. So, the boring things were more common than the exciting things. And over a year or two, I perfected this grid until it matched very much the probabilities of real cricket. And then what I would do is I would make 2 fictional teams made of all the best cricketers in the world. And then I would take a deck of cards and I would draw 2 cards from the deck, like a 3 and a jack. And then I would use that as a grid reference on my grid. Okay, there's the 3, slide across to the jack. Dot ball, nothing happened that ball. And I would enter that in my scorecard. And that's what happened. And then I would shuffle the cards, draw another 2 cards, king 3. 4 runs. I'd enter that in my scorecard. And I would spend days and days and days playing these fictional games of cricket between fictional teams on my own, just sitting there on my own playing.
Yeah, you're not getting somebody else to do that.
Yeah, filling out the scorecards and playing multiple series of matches between all these teams. And then at the end of the fictional season, I would add up all the stats of the players to see who had the best average and who had the best season and who had won the tournaments and everything. And then I would compile these reports so that you could then look and see you could recap, and then I would play multiple seasons. So there'd be the first season, second season, third season, and people would have career statistics that I would create in infinite detail.
Was this before
based.
spreadsheet?
Tell me you have a Hall of Fame.
There would be awards like Player of the Season and stuff, and all of it was based on this fictional grid and the drawing of the cards to decide what had happened in these games.
That's awesome, dude.
Did you give yourself fake echo as you announce the winner of each of those awards?
There would be little commentary in my head. I would be I wouldn't really say it out loud, but I would be commentating, saying, okay, and now Jones runs into bowl to Dujon and Jack 3. Oh, yes, he's got 2 runs. Okay, next bowl. And
dude, that's amazing.
And there would be, I must have done this thing with the cards tens, if not hundreds of thousands of times to create these games, because they were like full-length cricket matches. So they were epic.
This says something about your brain.
I'm just now understanding, when you don't get to talk about sports like this on Hello Internet, this is like holy territory for you, isn't it?
There are lots of other things I find interesting. Sports is just a part of my life.
No, this is more than just interesting, Brady. You created fantasy football before there was football.
You created fantasy cricket.
Fantasy cricket, but before spreadsheets were something we all knew about. Did you do this with a pencil and paper?
Yeah, pencil and paper and pack of cards.
Do you know where the paper is now?
No, I don't. But do you know what happened? I decided, for old time's sake, about 2 or 3 years ago, I had a train trip to London. I decided to create one for old time's sake, just to do it. And I got a pack of cards. I created a grid off the top of my head that ended up being quite a good one. And I played a quick cricket match on the train on the way down to London. And it came out as quite an interesting little match. And I was like, still quite good fun, that.
How long ago was this?
This was a few years ago that I did this one-off game. But before that, this was, high school years.
You could make a deck of cards and you could sell this game.
Well, you don't. You just need a normal deck of cards. Someone had already made the game. That's where I got the idea. But their grid was very unrealistic, and I modified the game and added extra features to it to make it more realistic. And I actually created subsets out of the main grid, so that sometimes things on the grid would lead to a subset grid to. Because if there was an out, like the equivalent of an out in cricket, you would then go to a subset grid to find out how the out was out and things like that. So I just got more into it. It's all very nerdy, but it was just like a hobby. It was just like doing a crossword or something like that, or a Sudoku. That's what it was to me. It was just, I had lots of friends, and I'd much prefer to play real cricket and swim in the pool and stuff. But this was just something I did if it was nighttime or it was too hot or something. This was just a game I would play to keep myself occupied.
Woodworking was that for me.
Yeah.
Someone brought me, interestingly, from Australia, someone brought me a boomerang one time, and I reverse engineered the boomerang out of plywood, and I spent hours and hours trying to figure out how to make a boomerang return, because I didn't understand the airfoils on each side of the boomerang. And growing up in Australia, did you just know how boomerangs worked? I mean, was that just a thing that everybody knew?
Probably not in the destined way. No, I mean,
yes.
You kind of.
Could you do it?
I went on I would go on sometimes on camps where the instructor we'd make our own boomerang and then throw it and catch it and stuff. But I probably wouldn't have been able to understand the physics very well.
That was my first peek into aerospace, was figuring out how a boomerang, having to reverse engineer a boomerang to the point where I could make it come back to me. And that's also where I first learned that plywood is always an odd number of layers. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
No.
Yeah. Plywood is always an odd number of layers. I learned that reverse engineering boomerangs, and it came up later in engineering classes, and I had one of those aha moments. It was really neat. So, sorry. But I did not keep stats on my boomerangs like you did. So you're way nerdier than I was.
Brady, I cannot beat that story. But this is the closest corollary, because I think our miswired brains do have some deficiencies in common.
Yeah.
When I was probably, this is what I was doing in middle school instead of making out with girls. I was in my basement. I bought a big roll of paper.
I mean, I was making it with girls all the time because of the card cricket. Girls really dug card cricket.
Oh my goodness. I bought this giant roll of newspaper print, unprinted.
Yeah.
And I wallpapered the room in my basement. And then I took a single blue magic marker and I decorated the walls to look like the walls of, well, at the time it was called Royals Stadium in Kansas City. Now it's called Kauffman Stadium, including the correct dimensions, which I made sure to match with the orientation of my home plate so that when this inevitably became something I used for indoor baseball, I would need to strike the ball at the proper distance to get it to go out to that part of the park.
Nice.
All the way down to the water display in center field. I had this thing drawn right. And then I created bases and I played baseball with myself. I experimented with several different types of balls to try to find the one that would most respond in a limited way. I mean, it's an easy home run. It's a room in the basement. So I needed a ball that would have a lot of air resistance so I couldn't hit it hard. And I found this little foam Nerf gun ball. It did not travel well and it was perfect. And so what I would do is I would throw that thing up and bounce it off the ceiling and then it would bounce off the floor and then I would hit it. And then I would have certain times that I would allow myself to go and I would keep stats on that as well. And finally, I realized this just isn't fun alone. And I got my friend to come over, my home run derby friend. I got him to come over and play that with me in the winter when we couldn't play outside.
Yep.
We just couldn't find a way to make it engaging enough. It was the artistry of setting up the stadium proved to be the fun. And so we were like, we should do something else. This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by the 50/50.
I miss this voice so much. I miss this voice. When we talk about the 50/50, you have this.
I don't know what voice you're talking about.
Snarkiest.
Destin, go ahead and tell the listeners how it works.
All right. So we have this website, the5050.com.
Indeed.
Yes. And you can go there and there are two buttons. You click on one of the buttons, it'll send you to, in this case, the most awkward video I've ever seen. Would you agree?
It's a real winner.
It's bad.
You're going to feel things you haven't felt in a long time. Hopefully, ever.
Yeah, I know. Hey, stranger. All right, so anyway, you play the 50/50. If you get the wrong video, then you are basically taking a blood oath covenant to support us on Patreon. And if you get the right video, you're also taking a blood oath covenant to that's how it works, right?
So everybody wins.
Yeah.
And by everybody, I mean us.
Yes, that's how
I think you did a great job of explaining it. Now let me explain it.
Okay.
The 50/50 is easily the worst decision we've made in the history of this podcast, and that includes me choosing to tell the entire internet about seeing a shadow creature in my sleep one time. The 50/50 is a game, has a very simple set of rules. It goes like this. You start by agreeing to play, then you use your internet-activated device to go to the5050.com. Again, as Destin mentioned earlier, averagely, there will be two buttons. They both say roughly the same thing. There's no indication as to which will lead you where. Don't bother trying to hover. We've thought of all of that after several incarnations. You're going to click on one of those two buttons, and it's going to take you to one of two places. One means you're the winner. One means you're the loser. Either way, agreeing to play is agreeing to make a blood oath covenant to support us on Patreon. We thank you for that in advance. And agreeing to play means you must watch the entirety of whatever content you end up saddled with. A lot of you are thinking that this feels like a coin flip or that somehow you can game this thing. It's not a coin flip. You can't game it. It's a sacred agreement between two people, you and me, and I guess sort of Destin.
Speaking of the coin thing, we were sent a box of 50-cent pieces for the 50.
Yes.
Someone fulfilled their 50/50 blood oath covenant by giving us 50-cent pieces.
Multiple times over.
Can we tell them about Amos? Amos Kennedy, the printer?
It's time.
Okay, so I've got a buddy in Detroit named Amos Kennedy, a self-described humble Negro printer. His words, not mine. Amos.
He's fantastic.
He is.
At what he does.
Yeah, so I took Matt to Detroit to meet Amos, and you were not expecting what I told you would see, were you?
No, I expected the guy was good at stuff because generally you have good taste, I begrudgingly admit. But this guy is doing it like the old school way with the real live, roll the thing on the metal plate printing. I've never seen it in person. It's incredible.
It's incredible. So we have commissioned Amos to make 50/50 supporter certificates, which you made the text to it. And Amos is printing these out, and he said he's going to do some kind of fancy die cut print method. And so we're going to put those 50-cent pieces onto this certificate, and we're going to send it out to, have we decided how we're going to do that? I think it's actually on the Patreon website.
Yeah, it's on there.
Anyway.
There's a certain level of support where you get the certificate and the coin. And the certificate, it's a win.
It's really cool. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Go to the5050.com if you want to support us in our little projects here. We'd really appreciate it. And I really liked hearing your voice go back to the snarky place, Matt.
We haven't been there for a while.
We haven't.
The 50-50 thing obviously is a ridiculous, stupid gimmick, but don't make light of the fact that a bunch of you do support us, and it means a lot. So thank you to everybody who's already supporting us. And thank you to all of you who've just been unwittingly baited into a trap to make a blood oath covenant with us via the internet to support us in the future.
Yeah, okay. I really appreciate all the guys and gals that have done that. Thanks.
Okay, back to it.
Did you build that baseball thing because you heard a voice going, if you build it, he will.
No, but I have played on that field.
No.
In Dyersville, Iowa. I went to Field of Dreams shortly after the movie came out, and I played there.
That's my favorite movie.
What do you mean played there?
I mean, there was a game going on, and there were a bunch of other visitors, and I asked if I could jump in, and I just got to take some cuts and play ball at the Field of Dreams.
Wow. That is my favorite movie.
Really? Number one ever?
Number one ever.
It's better than The Right Stuff?
Yeah, no, Field of Dreams has been my number one film for years. 20 years.
Really?
For my recent birthday, my wife hired out like a little mini cinema at a place we were staying, and we watched Field of Dreams just on our own in the cinema with popcorn and stuff because she knows I love it so much.
No way.
Yeah.
You don't have like some Australian movie called like Bowling
Wicked of
for
Dreams?
Courage or something like that? There's
Ashes
no
of Dreams.
They're all good. Those are all good names.
No, I love Field of Dreams. I love Field of Dreams. And not just because of baseball. I mean, as you know, baseball, while the film is very strongly about baseball, baseball is almost like a framing for a story about relationships between fathers and sons.
Yes.
But also there's a lot of baseball and, you know, and also about regret and fulfilling your destiny and stuff. So I just love it. I think it's a very perfect film.
You know, that's one thing I do with my son. Every time he gets ready to go play baseball, he catches sometimes. So I guess that's similar to a wicket keeper. Am I using the right terminology, Brady?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, you taught me that. So he has to wear a cup to protect himself.
That's called a box in Australian cricket. A box.
A what?
A box.
That seems like less anatomically helpful.
It's also sometimes called a protector, but it's mainly called a box. Are you wearing a box? It's the same thing.
Is it a jock? I mean, do you wear it within like an outer underwear, like a jock strap?
Yeah,
an athletic supporter.
I'm pretty sure it is very similar to a cup in most ways. Maybe I'll Google what a baseball cup looks like. By the way, the Yankees won.
Congratulations. Can you not say that, Matt? Can you not congratulate our friend Brady?
I said, "Oh."
What's your team? Kansas, is it, Matt?
It was growing up. I like the Colorado Rockies. That's the local team.
Oh, okay.
They're frustrating, to say the least.
All right. Yeah, a cup is pretty similar to a box. I'm looking at pictures of baseball cups, and they are very similar to a box. Anyway, playing catch with your son.
Every time he goes and goes to a game, I ask him if he's wearing it, but I say it in a funny way. I'm like, "Hey, you got your crawfish cover on?" And then sometimes I'm like, "Hey, you protecting the old Christmas ornament?" And so I just make up something new every time. It's a blast. But you have to say it convincingly as if that is the accepted terminology.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway,
I do that with my kids, but with pooping, and they hate it. Oh, they hate it. Okay, does anybody need to uncage the shrieking dung monkey before we go? Dad, don't.
That sounds like something you would do.
Yeah. I'm going to stop someday after they're married.
That's good. All right. Well, where do we go from here?
I'm here. If you've got any more questions, I'm here for you. Any dumb questions about Australian sport, I'm ready for them. Give us a couple of quick dumb questions about Australian sport.
I'm ready. How fast do the bowlers bowl? Like, what's the velocity of the ball?
Only a few times they've gotten over 100 miles an hour. That's fast.
So that's like
100 miles an hour.
60-ish miles per hour.
No,
over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, but miles per hour.
Oh, that's blazing. So it's not in kilometers per hour.
No, I mean, we measure it in kilometers per hour. I was doing a conversion for you there.
That was nice of you. Thank you. That's incredible because you can't, the elbow doesn't bend when you bowl, right? The arm has to stay straight?
It's only allowed to bend a certain amount. That's quite a controversial topic in cricket. But no, you do it with a round arm. And of course, the other big difference is that the ball normally will bounce before it reaches the batter. It will bounce on the pitch.
So when is the velocity measured? As it passes the batter?
Do you know what? I do not know the answer to that question. I don't know if it must be around that time, but I don't know.
That's really fast.
So you would spin the ball so that when it hits the ground, it would go off in a certain direction, right?
There are different types of bowlers. Some bowlers will deliberately put spin on the ball using their fingers. They will impart spin. Other bowlers will hold it in such a way. What you do with a cricket ball is because you use the same bowl for the whole time and you're allowed to shine it. You're allowed to rub it on your trousers to put shine on one half of the bowl. So some bowlers will hold the ball in such a way so that the shiny side is on the left or the right, and as it goes through the air, the air traveling at different speeds over the different surfaces will make it swing through the air. And also, a cricket ball has quite a raised seam, like a ridge that goes around it, like an equator. So there's yet another type of bowler who would deliberately try to make the ball bounce on that seam when it hits the pitch, which can make it deviate a little unpredictably as it hits the ground. So you've got seam bowlers, swing bowlers, and spin bowlers.
So a seam bowler, if that's unpredictable, that'd be like a knuckleballer in baseball, where you throw something that's meant to be unpredictable and chaotic.
Yeah. I mean, what's happening is very, very different, but there is some truth to it. Although a seam bowler normally has a good idea by the way they orient the seam as to which direction the ball will go. They know it will be an off cutter or a leg cutter. It will move to the left or the right. Whereas a knuckle bowler, it seems a lot more in the lap of the gods from what I've seen.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what's the deal with the wicket? Like you can knock just parts of the wicket down or the whole wicket down, right?
The word wicket in cricket is funny and means many, many different things. But what the use that you're giving it there are those three poles in the ground, which are called stumps, and then the two little sticks that sit on top of the three poles balancing there, which are called bails. And you're considered to have broken the wicket, to have hit the wicket in an effective way if just one of those bails is dislodged from the stumps. So you can smash them all over and they can fall over and you make a right mess of them, or you can just flick one of the poles, one of the stumps, and just one bail can just gently fall to the ground. It's the same effect. You've broken the wicket, and you know that usually means you've.
Interesting though. That, like the goal of pitching or bowling is not just to mess with the batter. There's actually something behind it you're trying to hit. So batting is like half offense, half goalie?
Yeah. It's a lot more like, batting. It's like, you know how sometimes in baseball you can like hack one off for a foul just to keep the count going?
Yeah.
Cricket is like that forever. You just sit there and the bowler's attacking you, trying to get you out, and you can just let the ball go and defend it. And you can do that for a very long time until they bowl a weak one that you think you can be offensive to and score runs. And they're the times that you'll try and smack it out of the park or just push it gently somewhere. It's a lot more long game than an at-bat. But you have to remember as well, the bowler has lots of different ways to get you out. And a lot of the time, a bowler in cricket is not trying to hit the wickets. They're not trying to hit those stumps because a good batsman will be able to pat those balls away forever. So sometimes they will dangle the ball away from the stumps, like a pitcher sometimes gets you to, swing at a pitch in the dirt.
To chase.
The bowler will put the ball in areas where they think you're weak and you might have a wafty swing at and hit a catch to someone, or they might play a long game and put the ball in one place for 5 or 6 in a row and then somewhere else to catch you out. So a lot of the time, a bowler, in fact, most of the time, a bowler is not trying to hit those stumps. They're trying to put the ball in other places with the end game of getting you out in one of the many ways you can get out in cricket.
So you have to make contact with the bat.
No, a batsman can choose to not hit the ball or miss the ball, and there's no penalty for that whatsoever, unless they miss the ball and it happens to then hit the wicket behind them. But if you bowl a ball and it's missing my wicket, And I think, I don't want to swing at that because I think if I swing at that, I might make a mistake and get caught, or it's just in a place I don't like. Like in baseball, you just let it go. Except there's no penalty, there's no strike, there's no ball, there's nothing. It's just a neutral event.
Is that why matches go on for months?
It is why matches can go for a very long time, because there's a lot of patience. The bowler can be very patient to make the batsman make a mistake, and the batsman can be very patient waiting for an offensive moment. But that's also why that's why Test cricket, which are these 5-day games that you guys laugh at, can just go for 5 days, and if you don't get a result, you don't get a result. But the more popular cricket now is limited overs cricket, where there's actually a limited number of balls that will be bowled. It could be 300, it can be 120 in the shortest form of the game. And if a bowler bowls good bowls and the batsman just lets it go because they're impatient, when the bowls expire and they've used up their quota of bowls, that's all the runs they've got. That's all they've got to defend. And then the other team will come in and they'll have 120 balls to try and smack more runs. So that removes the patient, neutral aspect of the game that a lot of people like me love, but other people who are impatient don't like. So we now have these limited overs matches that removes the stalemate of that situation.
So they basically, everybody watched cricket and then they said, okay, we're going to make a different version to make it better.
Yeah, that is, better is a controversial term to use. Most purists will say Test cricket, the 5-day game, is still better. And one day over a beer, I could talk to you for hours about why it is better. But it is for television and for crowds and audiences, it was considered we need to condense this game and get a result in one day and have things move quicker. So that's what happened. And also they started fiddling with the game in other ways to make it maybe more exciting. It was a very controversial thing. It nearly split the game in half. But now everything has come to a equilibrium. And all forms of the game kind of coexist.
I love baseball enough to decorate my childhood bedroom like a stadium without prompting.
Yep.
But I think baseball needs some tweaking. I want it to be around forever, and I don't think it's going to be around forever unless they start changing some stuff. It needs a shot clock.
Yeah, that's the one they always talk about, isn't it? Make them pitch quicker.
Yeah, let's get after it.
Yeah.
Also, I think it'd be really cool if baseball did a thing. I mean, you have 162 games a year. That's too many. For one, I would say shorten that. But if you're not going to shorten it, I would love it if every team would play one home series in a corresponding state that doesn't have a Major League Baseball team. So like send the Mariners up to Anchorage, Alaska to play one series there. Just one series.
Don't they do that?
No, I don't think so. They play a game in Monterrey, Mexico.
Don't they do like one game a year? Like the NFL have been playing a game in England every year. Haven't they experimented with that in baseball? Like playing a one-off game that counts somewhere else? Like abroad?
Maybe opening. Yeah, they've done like an opening day thing like that overseas. They play a series in Mexico. But it would really build the Colorado Rockies following if they played a game in Casper, Wyoming. It would really build the Mariners following if they played a game in Alaska. It sounds ridiculous. But it'd be kind of fun. You get to see like some minor league parks. They'd be packed out. You got big names there to play ball. I think that'd be cool.
Why is baseball so popular in Japan?
I do not know.
I don't know how that started, but I've been to some baseball games in Japan and they are insane. They love it. A baseball game in Japan is much more fun than a baseball game in America.
Really?
Oh, what?
It is. Don't get me wrong. I love baseball in America. I love going to the baseball. But in Japan, they're so passionate and they're so engaged all the way through. They're so attentive to the game and they have all these different songs and chants and things they do. And like they have all these toys. Like one of the games I went to, everyone in the crowd had these orange inflatable whales that they make do this cute little dance and this musical start. And all of a sudden you'll have like 20,000 inflatable orange whales all doing this little dance to the music. And they're so into it. It's really good fun.
Do they have hot dogs in Japan?
I can't remember.
Oh, come on, Brady.
I can't remember.
How can you not?
It was a bit long ago.
You love hot dogs.
I do love hot dogs, but that's why I can't remember, because I eat so many hot dogs I can't remember where I've eaten them.
Brady, so let's say you get to decide out of thin air, you get to decide the next trophy for whatever, your sport of choice. What would be the ideal trophy?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends on the sport, doesn't it? What do you reckon, man? What about a mounted piece of moon rock on the top of a trophy? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Big chunk of moon rock.
I don't think moon rocks are going to be super valuable soon.
Well, soon, maybe.
Are you getting out of the market now?
Oh no! I hope we're going back to the moon, and we're just going to start bringing them back by the truckloads. Obviously, that's not going to happen.
I wouldn't hold
like
your
I
breath,
want
mate.
it to. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. What's a good trophy? I don't like the Super Bowl trophy, the Lombardi trophy. I think it's too simple. It looks like they didn't try hard enough. The Major League Baseball trophy is too finickety with all those little flags and everything. It
looks like you just bend it or slam it in your car door on accident and the whole thing would fall apart.
It's too fussy. Yeah, it's too fussy. The Stanley Cup is too big. It's like comedy. The NBA.
That's because it has the names of everybody who ever won on
I understand. I understand why it's big, but I just think like for outsiders, when they see like on the news the Stanley Cup, they're like, "Oh my god, that's ridiculous," and they just laugh. Like it's too big.
Need to come around. We can come around to the Ashes being awesome.
No, I mean the Ashes is comedy too. That people laugh at that. You see some cricketer holding this little trophy between his two fingers, and you think that gets laughed at too. That's even funnier.
That's fair.
Tennis has good trophies. The Wimbledon trophy is good. The French Open trophy is quite good.
What do you get for the Australian?
The Australian Open trophy, I don't think.
Say taxidermed crocodile.
That would be cool. Formula One races have
it's like a kangaroo scrotum or something silly.
That's worse.
Formula One racing has quite good trophies. What's the Indy 500 trophy like? I can't think.
I think what makes any of these trophies worth having is the tradition, which is why the Ashes is charming and endearing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what makes it special. It's a history behind it.
Yep.
It was silly bragging rights at one point, but now what's cool about the Stanley Cup is if you win, your name goes on that thing with the legends. That's a big deal. You get to become part of history.
What happens if you win it twice? Do they put your name on it twice?
Yes, they do.
That's cool.
I say with confidence as though I know that for sure.
Yeah, I think almost having that many names on the Stanley Cup, though, kind of dilutes it a bit. If I get 2 minutes on the ice in the first game and then do my knee and I'm off for the rest of the series, do I still get my name on? Do you have to actually play in the final series, or do you just have to have played in the regular season?
You helped them get there. They wouldn't have made it without you.
What if you just get time? And so do you get your name on it if you played just in the regular season and not the playoffs because you're injured or something?
You do get a playoff share in the NFL if you are not on the playoff roster, but you played at any point active roster during the season.
Playoff share meaning money?
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about name on the trophy. Name on the trophy.
Yeah, I don't know about that in the NHL. That's all I can speak to.
But you know what I think about all these things that we do with Sportsball? It all involves physics. Have you ever noticed that? Every single one of them.
Oh, it's fun cracking that nut, figuring out how. I'm working on a topspin serve in my tennis game right now, and it's really fun to try and figure that out.
What doesn't involve physics though? Like us sitting here doing this podcast is involving an incredible amount of physics. Like
no.
You're doing well to find
because
something that doesn't involve physics.
But the thing about a sport that involves a moving object is you're trying to calculate. You're solving the equation on the fly. Like when the bowler pitches that ball.
Yeah.
The whole event is going to terminate in 4 seconds. Yeah. And you have two people they're on different sides of that equation and they're trying to solve it quicker than the other guy or gal. And it's whoever can do that.
Let me ask you this then, right? When a pitcher pitches a baseball and the baseballer then whacks it. Obviously there's a lot of physics going on and you could, if you could pause everything and get out your pencil and paper, you could do all the equations and the momentum and the angles and all that sort of stuff, right? But you're not suggesting that our brains are actually doing that. Surely what we're doing is more like habit and experience, and like our brains aren't actually doing all those equations and figuring things out and angles and trajectories. It's more just like, it's a bit more instinctive than that, isn't it?
They most definitely are, but we're doing it continuously. It's a feedback loop. Like, for example, if a guy's going across the rink really fast on hockey skates and he decides to stop by turning his blade sideways and cutting the ice real quick, he is figuring out the exact angle and the amount of pressure to put on the ice to stop at a specific location. And he's solving that equation real time. I've tested a hockey player doing that. And that's what I love so much.
I don't think they are. I don't think they are, though. I think like that is kind of happening like as a consequence. But the reason they're good at it is because they've practiced so many times that they've seen this before or something like this before, and they know that when the stone goes into a soft bit of ice, this is what's going to happen. And I've seen a soft bit of ice like that before, and it looked similar, and I saw one go in on that angle before, and it was similar. I think it's more that. I think it's more recalling from a database of previous results rather than a lot of on-the-fly, fresh computation every time. And although that stuff is happening, I think it's more the database. And to put that in another way, it's a bit like when I'm hungry, right? I feel hungry and I see a donut. I don't sit there and think, okay, the reason I'm hungry is because of this and I'm lacking nutrients here, and if I put that donut in there, the starches will get broken down and the chemistry, and then everything will get aligned, everything will get fixed. I just know from previous experience, when I'm hungry, if I put a donut in my mouth, the hunger goes away. And I think that's what's happening in sport. I think when the fly ball goes into the outfield, I don't think the baseball is constantly doing a whole bunch of equations and then adjusting those equations on the fly in a feedback loop. I think they've caught 1,000 balls before, and they know when the ball's that high, it's most likely, and it's going at that angle, that's where it's going to come down. But if there's a strong wind, from my experience, if the wind is blowing, it's actually probably going to go about 20 meters that way. And I've done this so many times before, I can call upon all those previous experiences and then slightly tweak them and then apply that information and make the catch.
Okay.
That's what I think's happening.
Okay, I know the answer to your question, and you're right and you're wrong. So
right.
Think about this. If I got hockey skates on and you gave me a hockey stick, and let's say that I had taken the same number of shots in my lifetime as Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Who's going to be better? I mean, Wayne Gretzky, yes, we would have the same lookup table in our minds experientially, but he fundamentally has better skill, natural talent. And so what you're talking about is an area of math, and I'm looking forward to the number file on this video, on this, called the Kalman filter, Kalman, Kalman filter. A Kalman filter it's a tool that people use in control systems to predict the outcome of something using both lookup table information, and you can also calculate on the fly. It's a feedback loop. And so what you do is you adjust the parameters in this feedback loop based on stuff you've seen in the past. And so it's like machine learning, right? But you have some people that can solve the loop faster than other people. And that's why Bo Jackson could do everything, right? I mean, he had a lot of physical ability, but he was also really, really good. You know, he just had natural talent. And so I think it's a combination of both of those things.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do you buy that answer?
Yeah, of course. I think these lookup tables are really important. Hence, like the whole 10,000 hour type thing as well. That's building up the lookup tables and the muscle memory and all that stuff. But yeah, of course, you can tweak it and you can combine all the information. Plus, you can combine it with actual figuring things out as they happen. But yeah, I guess what I was getting at was you were sort of saying there's a lot of physics going on, but I think I wanted to advocate the lookup tables. I think they're very important.
Like Matt, you played with those players you said it was in Nebraska where you played with those guys?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that they were clever. What did you mean by that?
I meant they were crafty ball players strategically.
Okay.
They're smart. They knew how to work a count. They knew how to do the little things in baseball. But to me, where I notice the person who's doing the calculations in their head on the fly is when stuff goes haywire. We got all these plays and these things that we repeat all the time. But part of what's fun about sports is something can get so weird and off that everything breaks down. I mean, in football, they call it, whoa, we're playing backyard football all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you're improvising. And so if a huge gust of wind comes up and I've got a ball that my opponent in tennis has hit all the way back to the baseline, but I could tell, and it looked like he really put a ton of topspin on that. Okay, I have to actually, I'm not good enough at tennis to just know what that's going to do. I have to actually think and calculate with my footwork where I need to be to have any chance at returning that tough ball. An intuitive player would just know. But I actually have to do the math on the fly. And usually if I do, the results are really bad because I'm overthinking it. But the people who are really good can do that math on the fly, and then the results are awesome.
Yeah, but if you'd played tennis for another 20 years and played it a lot more often than you actually have, you probably will have seen 1,000 lobs like that in the past with that amount of spin when gusts of wind have come, and you'd know, oh, yeah, I've been down this road before and I made a fool of myself the first 10 times, but then I learnt, and that stuff just will become natural. You can just pull that stuff out of your brain without having to sit there and, flounder and go, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do, because it's like, I've been here before.
And the muscle memory of that is fun because your body just knows what to do. I feel that in baseball. Not a lot surprises me there. In tennis, everything surprises me.
Yeah.
But I kind of miss it when I get to a point of familiarity with a sport where I no longer have to figure it out on the fly. It's fun trying to crack that riddle, but once the riddle is cracked, then the whole sport turns into a cat and mouse game where you know your strengths, you know their strengths, and like all the physical things, we can all do all of those things and it's all going to work out. It's fun when it's kind of a competition of trying to crack the nut faster than the other guy of something neither of you are real good at.
Hey, have you ever played ping pong against someone that really knows what's going on?
Oh, sweet Christmas. It's dizzying.
So I was in Germany at a rocket meeting one time, and this guy that I sat across the table from in these meetings all week long, really nice guy, Klaus, and he said, would you like to come over to my house for dinner? We're like, yeah, we would love to. And so we went over to his house, and we knew he was into table tennis, and he said something like, oh, would you like to see the basement? We're like, yeah. We went down there, and he had posters on the wall from all these like professional people. And I said, oh, so you play? And he goes, oh, yes, I play. And I said, yeah, you want to play? He goes, no, I don't want to play. I was like, why not? He goes, it just would not be fun for you.
If I use my right hand over too quickly.
He said, I promise he said this. He goes, okay, because I begged him. He goes, I will serve it 20 times and you will never return it. I was like, come on, man. Yeah, right. And no joke, he did that to me, and he just made me look like a fool. It was amazing.
Alternatively, he could have taken his foot off the accelerator and like given you a chance.
Yeah, but he wanted to show me.
Patronizing sucks. Just kill me. That's what I want.
Yeah, he wanted. I mean, the spin and showing, and he even told me a couple times, look, I'm going to spin it this way, and it's going to bounce. You're going to get to it, but when it hits your paddle, you're not going to be able to return it because you're not going to be able to counteract my spin. And he would tell me all this stuff, like two aerospace engineers solving a riddle. He was giving me all the equations, but I didn't have the lookup table that you were talking about. This has been fun.
No kidding. Thanks for jumping in, man.
Hey, this is real privilege.
You might like sports more than me. I wasn't convinced until about the last third of this conversation, and you really like sports, man.
It's not a competition, man. It's not a competition, but if it was...
It is a competition, and I like it more. I like sports more. I win.
All right. We'll settle it over a game of something that I'm better at than you. So not baseball or tennis by the sounds of it. I'm definitely up for a game of baseball, guys. I would love to do that.
Do you want to do that, Brady? No joke.
I do.
Let's make that happen.
In fact, I'm sure when I was at your place in Alabama, I even dropped a couple of hints about going for a hit of baseball that just went over your head.
Destin, come on, man. It's emotional awareness.
I'm sorry. I'm not very empathetic, apparently. I'm just
the guy
pathetic.
crossed a sea to play baseball with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that is tantamount to like making a deal with a buddy where you're like, hey, pal, you want to meet somewhere and we'll just bring gloves and have a catch and just talk about stuff? And then one guy brings his glove and his ball and his little sideways ball cap. And the other guy's like, it didn't fit in my bag.
I told you I told you from Alabama I wasn't going to bring it to Chicago.
Yeah, hey kiddo, I really want to play ball with you. I have some stuff I have to do at the office. Okay, Destin.
That happened, Brady. He said, "Hey man, you want to throw the gloves in the luggage when we meet in Chicago?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I couldn't fit it because I had to bring a bunch of gear, and I told him that. And then
if it mattered, it would have fit.
You know what'll happen, Destin?
What?
But something will happen, like, years from now, Matt will have passed away, and you'll go and visit that Field of Dreams baseball field, and Matt's ghost will just appear, and you two can have your catch then.
That's powerful. With the soundtrack from Field of Dreams.
Oh,
Matt,
man.
do you want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
You know what? That makes me really want to play ball with my son more. That's really what this makes me want to do.
Well, then this has been a win.
Brady, thanks for doing this, man. I mean, it was kind of a joke.
Thanks for indulging my stories of statistical nerdiness as a boy. You're not going to publish this, are you?
Indulging. Savoring. That's fantastic.
Hey, real quick, before we get off, can we tell everybody about everything you have going on? Is that cool?
Dude, there's a lot of things to tell people about. Just get them to go and have a listen to the Unmade Podcast, because that's the new one. And I'd love people to go and have a listen to that, because I think if they enjoy you guys having a laugh, if they love no dumb questions, then the Unmade Podcast might be one that they like as well, because that's also just two buddies having a laugh and seeing what happens each week. So go and have a look at.
Tell me about Tim, who's on there. I really like him. Who is he?
He's an old schoolmate of mine, back from my school days. So
he would have known about did you have stats on Tim?
Yeah. He knows a lot of my dark secrets. That's one of the great fears of the Unmade Podcast, is that over the next however many episodes we end up making, he might drop me in it a few times. So we'll see what embarrassing secrets from my school days he decides to reveal.
I'm rooting for Tim. He's playing an important role.
I started listening because we're buddies, but I quickly started siding with Tim on stuff because I like his sense of humor.
He's a funny guy. He really makes me laugh. So yeah, this is a danger though, as you two have found when you make a podcast with someone who you find hilarious. You end up just making a podcast where you're giggling half the time. So I don't know if that's always the best, but you have fun. That's what matters.
What's that?
Thanks for your time, Brady, man. We really appreciate it, dude.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. And Nick, if you're doing another sport one, you know who to call.
Absolutely. Look forward to throwing the ball around with you. I'll actually bring my glove.
Go easy on me at first. Give me a few nice loopy ones that I can get my confidence up with before you start throwing in those sliders. Catch you later, guys.
Yeah. Take care, man.